Empire.
Welcome to the latest edition of All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzer. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino, on location from New Orleans, as you can tell from the Kansas flag behind me. We are going to be joined later by NBC Sports Washington's Alexa Landestoy. Talk about a big week ahead for your Washington Capitals. Tampa Bay Lightning in town, at the Pittsburgh Penguins, home against the Boston Bruins, and a matinee game that I know Evgeny Kuznetsov and everyone on the Capitals love those kind of games. But first, Karl, everybody's talking about our friend of the show, Jay Beagle, the other night. He kind of maybe lost his mind a little bit, cross-checked Trevor Zegras and fought Troy Terry or kind of beat up Troy Terry. I'm curious your thoughts on kind of the entire situation, what Jay did, and kind of some of the backlash that we've seen the last couple of days.
Yeah, well, I definitely do have an opinion on it. I watched, at first I saw the interview, the post-game interview with Zegras, and I was thinking like, oh man, this guy's going off on someone. I wonder who it is. And and then I saw the clip, and I mean, my first thought is I don't understand what the big idea, like what's the big problem? You know, like this happens all the time. You poke at a goalie, especially when the game was 5-0 or 6-0, whatever it is, and he's already scored a goal the way he scored a goal earlier in the game. Like, you need to expect something's going to happen. And maybe it's the part of the issue is that he's a young, inexperienced guy who is getting everything, you know, so many things are going right for him offensively, and people are all, you know, so hot for him right now that he kind of thinks he can go out there and do whatever he wants. And I think that's where part of the issue is. You know, he hasn't had anyone really stand up to him before. And they traded Delorier. Manson's not there. You know, they don't have you know, an enforcer or someone that can protect those guys right now. Maybe there's somebody else on that team that's tough and can fight and stuff. But, you know, it's just, there's all these things that he hasn't had to deal with before. And, you know, he got a little too far in front of himself there, and you run into a guy like Beegs, and Terry comes in to defend Zegras, and you ran into a guy like Beegs. You know, it's what it is. You can't.
And Jay's not a goon here. Like Jay's not.
No.
That's never been Jay Beagle's game.
No, but he's going to defend himself, right? And that's the thing. If you're going to come into a scrum like that, you better be really good at seat belting, or you better, you know, be tough enough to handle what's coming to you. You know, and
I never heard that phrase before. I never heard. I know what it is, but I've never heard it called seat belting.
Yeah. So like here, for example, I'm by no means a good fighter, you know, at all, but I know how to tie somebody up or defend a punch, right? And so it's happened before where I knew that I have to step in to do something. And, you know, if the guy drops his gloves to fight me, I better be prepared to not die, essentially, is what it is. And so he just wasn't prepared for that. And so I have absolutely no problem with the play whatsoever. What bugged me too is the comment in that interview saying, you know, he's a 30-goal scorer or whatever, and the league should protect him. To me, it doesn't matter if you're a 30-goal scorer or a 1-goal scorer. You know, it's the same rules for everybody, and teams construct themselves certain ways to make sure that they're safe.
That's why Zach Cassian with the Oilers for McDavid and a Draisaitl, and you mentioned Ryan Reeves,
Yeah, you'd have guys that are out there that can do it. You know, Edmonton's great because they also have Nurse who can throw them. Like they've got lots of players that are there, and so, you know, that was we go back to the story against the Bruins. You know, Hendy fought Campbell and beat him up, and next thing you know, we have McQuaid and Thornton coming after him. You know, that's just right. It's, you know, it's a little bit of an old school mentality, but at the same time, that's kind of how we police the league and how it's done. So I mean, I know a lot of people don't necessarily agree with it, but look, you protect the goalie at all costs, and that's what happens.
Yeah, to me, there are two parts of this. I don't necessarily agree with taking retribution for how he scored the goal. I don't. To me, like, you shouldn't be punished for the skill part. But if you're poking at the goalie, if you're involved in a scrum, it's kind of fair game. So I do agree with the kind of take of, we don't want to kind of punish guys for scoring those kind of goals. You want to stop that? Stop them from scoring the goal. That's where I'm at on this. But I don't think Jay did it because he scored the Michigan goal.
No.
I think he was doing it because he was protecting his guys. You get frustrated in a moment like that, and I think it was all about that scrum. I think it was kind of centrally located to that. It had nothing to do with how he scored that goal.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But keeping in mind that if someone scores a goal like that against your team, in your head, you're thinking, that should never have happened. Like I got to be better. And that bugs you a little bit. Someone scores a highlight reel goal against your team, like you almost in a way feel a little bit embarrassed, and you don't want to have that embarrassment. And so you're not looking to go after him. But I mean, it was a little cross check, and he went down hard, and then everything led to the next thing. I don't know. I think it's gotten blown out of proportion, and I'm going to defend Jay on this. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, same thing. It's like I don't think you should ever take retribution because someone scores a great goal like that. But if you're involved in a poking at the goalie situation, it was a little cross check, and then tensions kind of rose from there in the scrum. I think, to me, and there's also the frustration of losing a game, being the worst team in the NHL, and losing a bunch of games this year, and just all of that kind of builds up. It's to me, it's a weird mix of kind of the old school, what hockey is, and what a lot of kind of new school hockey people want it to be, and it's transitioning a little bit. But this was a very kind of polarizing topic, because people were either like you are and saying, okay, like this is Jay's in the right, and everyone else saying get Jay out of the league, which seems crazy.
Well, yeah, I replied on one of the comments I saw. So I think somewhere on Twitter just said, like, this is the new NHL. This is what it is. The young guys come in at 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're given everything. They have okay, I shouldn't say they're given everything. They earn it because they're good players. But they all of a sudden are getting, $8 million a year at 20 years old or 21 years old with 8-year deals, and the coaches are, twisting to make sure that they're feeling good and happy and all that stuff. And then they start to feel, extra special, and so they can get away with a few more things. There's no rookieing, which I understand. There isn't, the rookie dinners are a lot less intense than that. And so it's easier. We joke around and say it's softer. If we would ask Jason Chimera, he would say new NHL 5 times a day, because some of the things that he would see happening. So it's the direction that the league is in. But if you go back and watch every single game, anytime a goalie gets touched, something happens. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small, but something happens. And so it doesn't matter who you are. Maybe if it's Ryan Reeves and there's just a bunch of skilled guys on the ice, nothing really happens, but someone will go and say something at least. And so this is just what happens.
Yeah, and look, there are things in hockey culture that's changing, but I don't think you're ever going to go away from protecting your teammates, standing up for your teammates in situations like that. If you feel like your goalie's getting poked at, or you feel like your teammate's getting shoved or something, I think that element of hockey is always going to be there.
Yeah, and I think it should. I think that we should protect ourselves. And that's I'm trying to think of the other sports. Like there isn't really, like there's obviously physicality in a lot of the other sports as well, but it's different. Like I feel like lacrosse and hockey are kind of on the same page. And I don't know. Do you fight in field lacrosse at all?
I don't think you can actually fight in field lacrosse.
Okay, so like in box lacrosse, what we play a lot in Canada, it's the same thing. You still fight, and because you get slashed, you get cross-checked in a way you don't like, or something happens, then you settle it that way. And it's what makes our sports unique, I think. And I'm on the side of keeping it, but being smart about it at the same time. And so I like that the game has an edge. I think that's what a lot of fans like as well. I think that's why they like to watch the game. So I think it would be a shame to get rid of that stuff.
And look, I don't think fighting's ever going to go away completely. We've seen it drastically reduced just because, look, the salary cap, can't afford to keep guys who just fight on the roster and all of that. But Gary Bettman said this. If you didn't have fighting, you might have guys slashing each other and more kind of stick stuff and things after the whistle, that it kind of lowers the temperature of a game. Look at that Tom Wilson-Brendan Smith fight in the Caps-Carolina game. The fans went nuts. And look, bad game for the Capitals and all that, but it brought an arena alive. And it was something that the Hurricanes wanted to answer after that hit from Tom on Vincent Trocheck, which was a clean hit but a big hit, and was one of those Tom was willing to answer the bell. Everybody kind of loved it, and it is something that's unique to hockey that I think a lot of newer fans don't understand or don't like. And it's better that we don't have 30 fights a game or all of that. That's a good thing. You don't want guys getting concussions and those sort of things. Very sensitive to that stuff. But it does kind of lower the temperature of a game so you don't have cheap shots and slashes all over the place.
Exactly. And people will police themselves, right? If there's an option to do it. That's the discussion with football. Is there as big of hits or as dirty hits if they're wearing less padding, something like that. Or if it can be policed, like will some guys be as dirty or as aggressive as they are if if there's a chance for retribution. And I don't think so. I think you look at rugby as a perfect example. There's still big hits, but they have to hit a certain way and they have to be strategic about it. So yeah, I don't know. It's just, I'm sure Beags doesn't care because he doesn't even know how to probably open up a web page to read anything. So not a big deal for him, but it's still frustrating to see.
Yeah, I just don't like the kind of piling on Jay Beagle like he is a goon who always hits dirty and does these things. Mm-hmm. That's not at all. Like, we've known Jay Beagle. You've known Jay Beagle for a long time, really well. That's not him, and that's the part to me that it's not like he's some Neanderthal. Right. Okay, so when we come back on All's Caps, we'll be joined by NBC Sports Washington's Alexa Landestoy. Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner. I am AP hockey writer Steve Wino. We are pleased to be joined by NBC Sports Washington's Alexa Landestoy. Alexa, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're on a run now. We had Andrew Gillis on, we've had you on, we've had Alan May on, Joe's been on. We still need to get Locker on at some point. We're just going to run the gamut at NBC Sports Washington, Brian McNally as well. Smoking Al. This is All's Caps with NBC Sports Washington, apparently, which is great. I'm just curious. I know Karl has a lot of kind of other questions for you, but big week ahead for the Capitals. Defending champion Lightning in town, at the Penguins, home against the Bruins. I know the Caps are kind of locked into really probably that 8th seed in the East, but what are you looking forward to seeing out of this team this week?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me right now is getting guys back healthy and figuring out what this lineup looks like. We got Mojo at the trade deadline. We got Larson and these guys, plug-in and play-in. Where are they fitting? I think, Mojo on that top line recently, we don't love that right now. Where does he fit in? The second line of Mantha, Backstrom, and Oshie, I really like personally, but, Lobby's making those decisions and switching it up. So I think just getting guys back healthy, getting, this April ramped up to be ready, hopefully, for the long playoff run. But, even I was out at the Iceplex talking to a few guys. Those interviews will come soon on NBC Sports Washington, and they're just talking about their mentality shifting right now and wanting to get their bodies ready. So I think just hopefully getting some wins. Maybe there's some movement in that playoff picture. I think, as you mentioned, they, probably are in that 8th spot, but we'll see. But just kind of hopefully staying healthy and finding out what the lineup will look like.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that's this time of year, right? Like, we always talk about not being able to flip a switch, but yeah, there is a little bit of switch flipping that happens, especially when you're a team of this caliber that can do it. So that's exciting. And also, just to hit on the road game in Pittsburgh, I'm making my first road trip as a fan to Pittsburgh, actually, with some of the kids on my kids' baseball team. So that's exciting. And I just want to I'm getting back in the studio with Alexa and Alan coming up here on the 14th. Is that right? The Leafs?
Yep. I know. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I know. I got to get back in there because I want to start doing my my outfit of the day as well, because I feel like that's a big hit. Like, you get a lot of love.
You're the only one that could keep up with me. You and the suit game and all that stuff. Alan May has some looks and he always makes fun of me for it, but you appreciate the good fashion and the good look. So yes. I'm excited to have you back with us. And hey, you'll have to let me know when you're in Pittsburgh, because Michael, my husband, works for the Pirates. Maybe he can hook you up with the game. I think baseball may be starting when you're up there. We'll see. I forget what day is opening day at this point.
Yeah, no, it should. Yeah, it'll be right around that time. That's a good question. Will he be there in Pittsburgh?
He won't. We'll connect offline. He may be there. Who knows? His
Sweet. Okay.
Crazy. Vernon doesn't know. My husband's a professional scout for the Pirates, and he is just on the road now during baseball season in Florida a bunch and just up and down. So he may be in Pittsburgh. We'll connect, but I know sometimes he has the hookup to get tours or to see the stadium. And I know some Washington fans may not love this, but Pittsburgh is such an underrated city. So it's such a cool spot to be at. We don't love the Penguins, but we love the Caps, and but the city, we can appreciate it.
Well, and that ballpark is gorgeous. Unfortunately, the Pirates open in St. Louis, so they won't be home that day. But that's maybe my favorite stadium in baseball is PNC Park.
And that's the stadium I caught my first ever foul ball in too. So I got a little love for it as well. Yeah.
All right.
So
we'll bring the Caps some luck then.
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to just go back because I was just reading up on your website, which is sick, by the way. It's got a lot of good info on there.
Thank you. I still got to update that a little bit, but thank you.
Yeah, well, if anyone hasn't checked it out, it's very necessary. But I'd love for you to just talk about it a little bit, because I didn't realize that you were as solid of a soccer player as you were. And okay, please explain the injuries, because when I read that, my jaw was on the floor. Like, how does that even happen? back to
Really? A
back.
hockey? I know. Geez, I feel like hockey players, you guys go through much worse. No, yeah, I tore both of my ACLs playing soccer. So my whole life I knew, I wanted to play soccer in college, and I wanted to kind of go on and hopefully play for the national team one day. That was the dream. And my freshman year of college, on kind of one of the backfields of my high school, was doing practice, and I kind of like tweaked my leg funny. And at that point I had just broken a wrist, hadn't done anything to any ligaments or anything like that. And so after, I was kind of like, did I dislocate my kneecap? Like, it was kind of painful initially, but not after. Turns out I tore my ACL. So that was the first. Went back, did the whole rehab process. My uncle's a high school football coach in California. So he has a bunch of friends in physical therapy that he sends his players to. So I kind of went to, an athletic type of physical therapy place to ramp up, get myself ready. We trained both legs. We were like doing everything right. And my first practice back, my first game back, sorry, not first practice, first game back.
Yeah.
I went down and tore my other ACL. So I have a right repaired ACL and a left replaced ACL. And at that point, that was my junior year in high school. And if anything, everyone's going through that or has kids, it's kind of junior year is the big recruiting time, especially for soccer. So missing out on that year, it was kind of like, all right, at that point, I needed to figure out what I was going to do. I love sports, and I wanted to incorporate that into my college, major experience. And so that's what kind of shifted into sports broadcasting, maybe a little bit earlier than I thought. So I guess it all worked out looking back now.
Yeah, that's just insane. Like it was 10 months, right? Like in between, to do both ACLs, not even the same, but both in 10 months. That's, I just couldn't even imagine that. But then I think this is really important because I know for sure that there's lots of young girls that look up to you and see what you're doing, but to go through how you did it, especially now with social media, it helps a lot, right? We can reach so many more people. You can get your stuff out there, and it's easier, I guess, to be scouted and just to explain how you did that. Like you were grinding, right? You were getting on all the high school football games, whatever you could, and just explain how you did that, because it's an interesting ladder to climb.
Yeah, so you're talking the broadcasting journey, right? Of kind of how it all started. Yeah.
Yes.
So post those ACLs, and then everyone's like, what do I want to major in? What do I want to do? So as a senior in high school, my family, like I mentioned, my uncle is a high school football coach. Every Friday, all my aunts and uncles and cousins, we had our same spot at his stadium and would go to his games. All the coaches knew me. I was out at practice and with all the guys all the time. So one of the coaches at one of the games was like, while I was still in high school, said, hey, if you want to major in sports broadcasting, we have the players. Why don't you just grab an iPad and interview the quarterback, Malik at the time? He goes, just interview Malik after the game and start going. And I go, really? And then that's kind of how it all started. I sat with my dad in the stands, like writing all the questions down of what we wanted to ask him and watching the game, and recorded that on an iPad. And I created a YouTube after that. I'm like, okay, let me learn how to edit this video. Let me put it on YouTube, really just for my friends and my family, like my aunts and uncles, to see my work and just see what I'm doing. And it just kind of took off. And every game I would go to one of my uncle's games and I would interview his players. And then it kind of started growing where I would interview one of the opponent's players in Southern California at some really high recruits. So I'd be putting these on my YouTube, and it would like slowly gain traction. I would have, college coaches start to follow me, and these people who were kind of like, who's this girl going around and interviewing all these top recruits? And then there was a media outlet, D1 Bound at the time, who's now I think transitioned in sports recruits. They were out at these high school games, kind of doing like recruiting mixtapes for all these players to put online for them to get recruited on like Huddle and things like that. And they were kind of always at these games that I was at, and they were kind of like, who's this girl doing these interviews? And they reached out via social media thinking, my high school self with my parents as my camera people on the iPhone, that I was doing this for a job, and then I was like 28 or something like that. And I go, look, I'm 16 or 17. I'm going to my homecoming this weekend, so I'm going to take the weekend off doing interviews. But this isn't my job, but I'd be happy to shoot these interviews and I'll send it to you guys, and you guys can post on your social media platform, because they had a huge following. At that point, I don't even know how many followers I had, probably around 1,000 or a little bit less. And they had 70,000 at the time. So I would do these interviews, send it to them. They would post, and everything took off from there. As a senior in high school, they would get me the media credentials to go to like events like the Elite 11, and I would interview these guys and put it on YouTube. And again, just my mom recording me on the camera. I think I stepped up. I bought like a Amazon microphone to be a little bit more official. And like you said, Karl, now, and this is what I try to tell people, like, you don't need to be a part of a network. You can go out there now, especially like create a podcast, like go out and interview people, interview family and friends, like even just getting that experience on camera. So that's how it all started as a senior year in high school. And then just kind of worked my way up through college, just never stopped and loved what I was doing. So yeah, I just went out there and went for it.
Let's talk about
if we can start a podcast, anyone can start a podcast. So you're right about
exactly.
that.
No, you guys are official, but yes.
Let's talk about getting recruited by TCU, because that was kind of interesting too, how that happened, wasn't it?
Yeah. So what was funny is my mom and I went on a whole college tour, because at that point I want the whole college experience. I want the sororities, my major, big sports and everything combined. And so we went to Alabama, Georgia, Colorado Boulder, Florida, where Erin Andrews and Laura Rutledge went, all these different schools. And TCU was kind of the last one on our list. So while we saw Auburn as well as Alabama, we were in Auburn and we did our whole tour on one of our stops, and we were on our way back, I think, to Atlanta, because that's the closest airport to those schools in Alabama. So we were driving back, and this is kind of how it all kind of started, this spur of all these different things. So I look at my phone, and on Twitter, I got a message as we were driving out of Auburn, and it was a reply to my tweet that I was at Auburn touring, and it was the Auburn offensive coordinator. And now he's the head coach at SMU, Rhett Lashley. He followed me because I was interviewing all these guys. They were looking at recruiting, and he would casually send me some messages and say, how do these quarterbacks look? Like, tell me their demeanor. And I would, I'm out there almost like recruiting for him, So, and again, now social media has taken off. There's more of that. But 5 or 6 years ago, it was, a small amount of people doing those things. So he messaged me saying, hey, are you at Auburn? Like, I would love to bring you into the football facilities and do a tour and see everything. And I think my jaw dropped. My mom and I are eating like Zaxby's on the road, be like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. Like, do we drive back 3 hours just to see the tour? Because at that point, this is awesome for me. So we had to message him and say, hey, like, we're 3 hours away. We're already gone, but like, thank you so much. And so then when we got to TCU, I knew our head football coach, Gary Patterson, followed me on Twitter. So at that point, I'm kind of like, okay, do I reach out to him? Is that weird? I wasn't sure what to do. But since, Rhett Lashley had reached out after the fact, I didn't want to miss out on another great opportunity. Yeah. So I kind of just, shot a message and said, hey, my mom and I are coming to tour. Like, we'd love to see the athletic facilities, really to just, it's just fun. I was a big sports fan, would love to see what they all look like. And he messaged back and connected with his assistant, and we got to go in and see the athletic offices, and that kind of started that relationship. And really, he brought me in like a recruit and just showed me everything I got to see. And he was a big, reason for a lot of my success there, because I would just go and pitch ideas to him. And I think he saw just that go-getter mentality and that potential in me. So it started out as small as he goes, you can just interview recruits here. Like, you can't post it. 'Cause again, different recruiting things, it was more, couldn't be posted. It couldn't be shared. It was just more to make the recruits experience better. It started as that my freshman year. And then I would go to him and say, hey, I think we should do this on social media, and I think we need to start this series. And then he got me in touch with our media people and social media. And again, 5 years ago, it was just starting. And now, especially, like, it's all about the social media and your platform and what you have. So I just pitched these ideas, and then they, I got some no's, and then eventually I was like, yeah, let's do this. And it turned out 3 years later, I was TCU's in-stadium host for football games. I was like one of their hosts for our weekly sports show. I was like at every pro day interviewing Andy Dalton, Josh Dox, and all the alumni coming back. So from that little opportunity, and again, a lot of people who trusted and respected me at that point. But yeah, that was the crazy way of how it all started.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. So, it comes from the love of sports, right? Like if you don't actually have a love of sports, it's hard to fake it, right? It's hard to totally be there doing the job. You need to know what you're talking about, and you need to just know how to interact. And I think that's pretty clear to see. And I want to just fast forward a little bit to what you're doing now, because now I'm a little bit of a part of it. So I get to see some of the things, although be it just on Zoom last year. And so when we're on camera, we try and make it flow as good as possible, right? Mm-hmm. Not a whole lot of arguments and stuff, but occasionally, people don't necessarily agree. And has it ever happened where you've seen Alan May and Al Koken, get into it. And what was that like, or what is that like?
Yeah, I know. It happened for the first time when you were with us, Karl. We were all in the beginning of 2021 season. We were all in different places, and I was still trying to get used to everyone. My first season hosting, and everyone has great personalities. Everything was great. And one of the shows, Alan and Al just get into it. And Alan, the part where I knew things took a turn was Alan goes, "You late night bourbon drinker, you don't understand." And I was like, okay, we're getting personal here. And I had a little freak out moment. And I went into because Al, I think, was at home. I went over to Alan and I go, after the show, I'm kind of like, are we good? Like, are you guys okay? Like, and he was like, oh yeah, like I'm texting him now. Like, that's just what we do. Like, great TV, great TV. And I was like, are you guys serious? Like, that was a little bit too much. Like, I'm all in for, really doing these digs. So then it happened once again this season. And I think our new director behind the scenes, Michael, was like, okay, I didn't even know what to do. I'm so scared right now. And I was like, don't be scared. This is Alan and Al's little shtick. Sometimes they argue and they get into it, but they laugh about it and they're probably texting each other while they're arguing on TV. Yeah. So you don't need to worry. But yeah, those are moments where I just kind of sit back and I'm like, okay, I'll let you guys do your thing. And I try to keep the peace. And sometimes Alan's like, you don't see my side of things. So I try to kind of be the middleman between the two of them.
Yeah. Always need that.
Well, I hope that you're not going to have to break up Karl from any fights when he comes on later this month for that Leafs game, though. We're going to take a break on All's Caps. When we come back, Alexa Landestoy will be the latest victim of Karl's stupid questions. Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner and NBC Sports Washington's Alexa Landestoy. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. And now, of course, Karl's favorite portion of the show, Karl's stupid questions.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so we did a little rundown of how it's going to work. So Alexa's aware, but still somewhat in the dark, so this should be fun. Okay, so question number one: what's your favorite type of food? Like, no, I don't necessarily mean like a French fry or pizza. I mean like ethnicity. Like, what do you typically like to go for if you're going to order something?
Okay, I already feel like I'm the worst at this game because I'm like, it's like Italian, but not really. Let's think. My favorite type. Okay, you know what? No, besides like a dish, my favorite type would be like sushi or poke, like that type. Does that count as a type?
Oh yeah, absolutely it does.
I mean, I grew up in Southern California, so I should love that type of stuff.
Yes, good call.
Karl,
yeah.
Are you a sushi guy?
Not anymore. No, well, that's not true. There's a place in Montreal, if you guys ever go, called Sushi Momo, and it's a plant-based sushi. It's so good.
Really?
Like, yeah, I hadn't had sushi for quite a while, and then we've heard about this place, and I tried it, and it's solid. And then there's another place that me and you had talked about, Alexa, called Planta in Bethesda.
Did you try it? How was it?
Yeah, I tried it. It's good. I think they have like 4 or 5 different rolls. I'd say 2 of them are getting close to Sushi Momo. Not quite there, but they're getting there. So how about you, Wino? Are you into sushi?
Oh, I'm a sushi guy. I was going to say, Momiji in DC is my favorite. It's right by the arena there. I know your studio is not quite there, Alexa, but like Momiji, they're still doing takeout for now, but that's a great one. And Sushi Rock in Courthouse is also great. I love trying different sushi spots around DC. Nice.
All right. Well, we'll get out there at some point. Okay, this next one. I wore this shirt specifically for this question because
Formula One or something like that.
Yes, I didn't know if this would sway you at all. But what's your favorite? If we can do both, let's do both. Favorite movie and favorite TV show.
I feel like now, because you're wearing that shirt, Drive to Survive is my new favorite. Ferrari girl over here, but I'm still watching. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, my 2 favorite.
Yes.
So I would say Drive to Survive. I'm also a fan of some of the Bravo, like, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Below Deck, those type of fun things as well. If I'm not watching sports, that's what I'm watching. Favorite movie. One, I'm probably going to get minus points for this. I'm like the worst movie person ever. Ask Alan May. He's literally embarrassed by me. I always say like The Blind Side is my favorite movie. Like that's so random.
Well, that's a good movie though.
Love the movie. Yeah, so heartfelt. Any rom-coms I like as well. But I definitely say I'm more of the sports person. You could ask my husband the movie questions. I'm the worst. And actually he doesn't even like watching movies with me because I just talk the whole time. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, wait, why is this he goes, this is a good movie. Just sit back and watch it. So I guess The Blind Side if I had to pick one, but definitely movies are not my strong suit.
Okay, that's all good. Okay, this one might actually throw you for, I don't know. I like to throw this one in there, especially because in honor of spring right now, What's your favorite flour?
Favorite flour. Okay.
You can say whole wheat or all-purpose flour too. That's the first time I heard this question. Someone said that and they said whole wheat flour because they didn't understand. I meant like actual flowers.
Well, obviously cherry blossoms are beautiful.
Right.
But I feel like roses, like I just got married too. All my flowers were just a bunch of roses, hydrangeas, whites and pinks. So I guess I'm in the cherry blossom theme of things.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Carl, did you guys see the Nationals cherry blossom uniforms and hats? They're awesome.
Yeah. It's so sweet. I love that they're doing that. Are the Caps doing anything like that?
I don't think so. The Wizards unveiled the jerseys. No Capitals yet, but I know I've seen on my Twitter all the fans they're putting together their jerseys with the artwork to try to persuade the Capitals to do something. So I think the Nationals like record sales for theirs on the first day of all their hats and gear, and I think they're wearing them coming up here soon in a series.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. Well, this is so interesting is that I think it's the same with pretty much all sports except for hockey, as far as I know, that they can give away their jerseys to whoever they want. Like I met one of the guys on the Nats the one time and he asked if I wanted to trade jerseys. I'm like, well, I can get a jersey for you from the shop. And he's like, okay, sweet. I'll just give you my one from this year. Cause I'm hurt right now. So I don't even need it. And I'm like, wait a sec. Like you can just take your jersey and give it away. Like soccer players do it all the time.
Football guys like trade jerseys on the field.
Football.
Yeah. We're not allowed to do that. You have like your specific jerseys. When you're done, they go straight to the team and we get one at the end of the year, usually is what it is. And that's it. And that's like, I wish like it'd be so sweet to be able to trade jerseys with guys on the ice. Like, I think that would have been so much fun.
I feel like hockey, you guys are too, like, I would never, if fans see you guys like trading jerseys, they would be like, what the heck? Like we should,
it would have to happen behind the scenes.
But then, you guys do like the sticks. Like I'm always shocked that the players are giving out the sticks, which Alan has told me, you guys, I think there's like a certain amount that maybe you guys can give out, but I think I have about between 80 and 90 sticks that I've collected over the year. And I still need, it's funny, like of guys on other teams, I have almost nobody from who I played with. Cause I always just figured, just somewhere down the line, I'll get it. Now I don't have them. So got to work on that. Got to knock on their doors and get them.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Next one. If you're going on a vacation, would you rather go on a beach vacation, more of like a wintry vacation, or sightseeing vacation?
Beach.
Beach for sure. Yeah, I figured you were going to say that.
Sightseeing, if I was like in Europe, probably going through like Italy and all, all that. But beach for sure.
Beach, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Is there a particular beach? I know you're a Southern California person.
Yep. I think anywhere in Southern California. My husband's from the Dominican, so he would say the Caribbean beaches, but I would say the Southern California beaches have them beat. So, and also in Orange County, if anyone hasn't been, the Orange County beaches are just so beautiful. Some of those down there with all the Crystal Cove Beach, I think with all the rocks and all that is so beautiful.
Oh, sweet.
Carl, were you and Manny just in Mexico?
Yes, we were in Cancun. Yeah. Nice, really nice, but like the water's crazy. Like the waves. Oh my God, so choppy. These waves at one point, I didn't go close enough to look, but they looked like they were easily 15, 20-foot waves. Like, and people want to go in there. I'm just like, first of all, sharks. Second of all, riptides. Like, not happening ever.
I know in Cabo, I've been there a few times and I do think it's beautiful. They have a bunch of signs. Like typically they don't want you in the water because it's just not the best. Like you're on the beach or in the pool, but you're not in the water.
Yeah, people are nuts. Anyways, okay, this is a new question. Broke out just for today. Okay, what is a better vessel for a breakfast sandwich? Is it toast? Is it English muffin? Or is it a bagel?
Ooh, okay, so like what I'm putting my sandwich on.
Yeah.
Okay. Normally I'm an English muffin person, but I feel like that's on its own. So I would do the bagel with the sandwich. But potentially, I've seen it to not have too much fluff. You get rid of like the filling inside the bagel.
Wow.
I forget what that's called, but I know that's a thing. I don't know if it's like I don't know what it is, but you take out the filling inside the bagel and you put it on.
Interesting. I've never heard that. Why no? You want to say something?
Next time you ask this question, you have to add biscuit as an option. Like
biscuit.
Biscuit has to. I had one of these at a place called Toast in New Orleans yesterday for brunch, and it was out of this. A really well done biscuit crushes everything.
Okay. Oh, wow. Fair. Well, but the problem is though, biscuits are a little crumbly though, right? So they kind of
again, it's got to be. I said really well done. If it's done correctly, it's out of this world.
Fair enough. I was thinking this, that like I like a bagel, but I like a bagel for something that's not a sandwich, just spread, like a cream cheese or peanut butter or whatever. When I start getting like toppings on there, that's when I start going English muffin or toast. But that's me, just for bonus points for anyone who's next. Okay, and then I was torn on this last question, but I'm gonna switch it a little bit.
Okay.
So you played soccer.
Yep.
A lot of football. Hockey is obviously what you're doing now.
Yep.
And then Michael's into baseball, and then you love Drive to Survive. What is your favorite sport?
Oh my gosh. So tough. I always say growing up, in the big football family, that football is probably my number one. I say it's like my second language. Like I can just rattle you off names, coaches, anything, any trivia. I can even stump my dad sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
He's like a sports encyclopedia. But I would say football has always been my number one. But now my second season with the Caps, hockey is getting up there. That I was joking in my career. I'm like, maybe I'm going to stay in hockey. I love it. I love all the guys. I love the team. It's so tough right now because Drive to Survive is Karl. I just got into it. You saw on my Instagram. That's getting up there as well. Now I'm trying to look up how I can go to one of these events. But I'm trying to figure out who I know and all these things. I'm like, this price for these tickets is crazy.
Well, you gotta go media credentials, right? We got this is okay. So this is part of my plan. Is NBCSN needs to start covering the Masters and Formula One. So
just so you get to Augusta, right?
Yeah.
Just so I go to Augusta, and then so I can go to Monaco and watch the Grand Prix. So we're working on it right now.
Okay, yeah, I'll go with you into those meetings to make sure that happens.
Yes, please. Okay, all right, that's all 6. Let me just quickly add these up here. Okay, Japanese was really cool.
All I know is I better get more points than Alan May got. That's all I care about.
Oh, Alan talked too long. We couldn't even ask him the questions.
Yeah, we hadn't gotten there yet. So we have to have Alan back and have him do these questions.
Yes, yeah. Bagel.
Okay.
Oh, when you're talking about bagel, what flavor bagel? That'll determine a lot.
Okay, either sesame or jalapeno cheddar.
Oh, geez. Okay, points. All right, and football. That brings you to a grand total of 199 points.
Ooh, okay.
So that takes you into the top 10 for sure. And
I think it's top 5, Karl.
It might be. We have a 201 and we have a 270. Yeah, no, you're right. You're on the podium right now.
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Jalapeno cheddar and Drive to Survive really did it for you. Great job.
You are wearing a Mercedes top, so I figured we'd talk Formula One.
Exactly. Had to. Well, thank you very much.
That was fun.
Congrats on the podium performance. Alexa Landestoy, thank you very much for joining us on All's Caps.
Thank you so much for having me, and go Caps. Thanks, guys.
And next time we talk to you, Karl, we got a special guest coming on again later this week.
Yes, we do. We have Angela Price and Julie Petrie coming on, who are in charge of line change, which is the sweater that Alexa is wearing. So it'll be pretty fun.
That'll be fun. Thanks all of you for listening, and we'll talk to you later on All's Caps.